brothers, how we doing?
What up?
What's going on?
Looking good. Hey, happy Black History Month. You know,
That's right.
it's our month for the culture. We make sure we give good and proper discussions that our community can benefit. Man, hopefully everybody's able to take this time and educate their family and their kids about our history, so people can know what's going on. But how's everybody been?
Shit, it's great. I'm great right now, man. I can't call it. I'm just happy to be alive right now.
Yeah, I can't complain, man. I can't complain at all.
Taff,
I'm good.
Taff, you got the sniffles?
Nah, bro, I ain't got no sniffles.
That boy looked like he got the sniffles, man. Well, I wanted to take the time, one of our respective hosts, he's out traveling to Mecca. He in Africa right now. So, thoughts and prayers and, his safe travels, and he can enjoy himself.
Yes, sir.
But, today we bring in a guest. I'll let him introduce himself, but I'll throw his name out there. You guys seen him before on our previous topics. Attorney Jeff Wilson out of Atlanta, Georgia. Jeff, go on ahead and give us a shout out of who you are and what you do and all that stuff.
Jeff Wilson, credit attorney, practice it really all over the country, primarily in Georgia, Texas, and Oklahoma. Today, we're going to discuss some topics relating to debt collection. So excited to give out some information and ready to get it started.
Okay, so when you say that you are a credit attorney, help us who may not understand exactly what a credit attorney is and what a credit attorney does.
Okay, so essentially what I do is I sue companies, I sue Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, I sue debt collectors, I sue banks, I sue all of these entities based on errors that they put on people's credit reports. It's a pretty technical type of field, but it's one that's really necessary, especially in the Black community, where all of these companies like taking advantage of Black people's lack of knowledge and in this particular area and field. So us taking the time to discuss this matter is really beneficial to the community.
Okay. I think that's important because obviously we all have credit, right? And some of us, woke up at 18 years old and found out we had bad credit because our parents may have done something to our credit. And some of us woke up and found out we had good credit because our parents were responsible and did a good job of managing and taking care of our credit and things in that nature. So for the people who are in the process and they're out there dealing with their debt and their credit, what are some of when they have encounters with debt collectors and things of that nature, what are some of the things that people are doing wrong? What are some of the mistakes that we see us making out there when we're interacting with debt collectors?
Okay, so in thinking about this particular question, there's really four that I'd like to really touch on. First, let's kind of think big picture. What is a debt collector's goal? A debt collector's goal is to contact consumers and convince them to pay as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, they use several different means in order to accomplish this, which leads me into the first category I kind of see. The first mistake that people make is not responding to communications from debt collectors. Typically, when a debt collector gets an account for a consumer, they're going to call you. They pull these numbers off your credit report. They'll send you letters through the mail. Now, when you receive a letter, say I receive a letter from ABC Company, says I owe $1,000. On that letter, they're legally obligated to put in a clause, which basically states that you have the ability to request validation of this debt within 30 days of receiving this letter. Now, a 2017 survey from Ernst & Young concluded that only 18% of people actually request verification. This is something that people need to do. All right. If I walk up to you on the side of the road and tell you you owe me $500, I'm pretty sure you ask me, well, how the hell do I owe you $500? When you receive that letter, when you receive that call, request that they send you a contract, send you a billing statement, send you something evidencing that you owe this money that they're stating you owe. Further, going into that, you have the ability to dispute a debt. ABC company calls you, says you owe $1,000 again, and you say, I've never done business with this particular company, or I did business with this company and I paid them $20. That's all they said I owe. That's what I paid. There's no way I owe this amount of money. You can call them and dispute, say, hey, this isn't right. This isn't accurate. What you're reporting is completely incorrect. You can send a letter. You can send a letter to the company. You can send a letter to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian and tell them, hey, I don't owe this amount of money. Only 9.6% of consumers actually dispute accuracy of debts.
That's alarming, right? Because if you think of, if there's such a small percentage of people kind of seeking validation on things, I can imagine how many people are paying for things that they're not responsible for. But, you know, debt collectors do a good job of calling you, harassing you, telling you they're going to have the police knocking at your door and all that. And they get people scared. And, you know, typically a lot of times in our community, man, we are adverse to any interactions with law enforcement. So that can definitely cause somebody to want to do something differently. You know, brothers, have you guys had situations where, you know, you had somebody do something on your credit wrong and you had to go ahead and take care of it?
I haven't had that, but I didn't know you can challenge like what Jeff is saying. Man, I trashed my credit as a youngster, paying stuff late, not paying stuff and all that. But I didn't even know you can challenge that or you would need a lawyer for any of that. Because I started out the gate probably with like a 500 back in the day. And it took me forever to get my credit, you know, to 750 or whatever I had. But man, nobody messed up my credit. I messed it up myself. I'll put it that way. What Dewan did,
I contributed.
Dewan did. He had I had a cell phone that I was gonna cut the cell phone off. It was AT&T cell phone. I think my dad might still be mad at Dewan for this. So I had a cell phone. I said, Dewan, don't use the phone, bro. I'm about to cut the cellular, cut it off. He like, all right, I'm gonna just store numbers in it. He takes the phone from California to Oklahoma. This is before all the unlimited. This is like 2003 or something.
In 2004.
Yeah, he takes it to Oklahoma. He's running up a check on that damn phone. The bill come back like $2,000 because it's all collect calls back home. I'm like, I called AT&T, to be honest. I called them several times. They was like, you got to get your parents to cut it off. The parents was like, no, they said you can do it. So nevertheless, Dewan trashed my credit.
And we still brothers today, right? It shows you were able to overcome some extreme circumstances.
It's all good.
So Dewan remembered the exact year.
It was 04. I definitely remember that, and you know, I've apologized profusely for that situation. But you know, I you know, as you guys know, man, I've had situations where somebody's fraudulently used my credit before. I mean, recently, I just had it happen, and so I had to, you know, get on my Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and you know, they have the little option where you can dispute. You know, because I'm like, man, look, I done had the same phone service for almost 15 years. I don't have no other phone service and, you know, dispute stuff, you know. So obviously, you know, letting people know about that is extremely important and people need to know about it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you guys an example. I had a client, this client was in Oklahoma City, and she utilized each one of these things. She received a letter from a debt collector. She requested verification. They sent her back some documents. Documents really didn't evidence shit, but she utilized it. Then what she did was she disputed. She disputed with Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, so all three credit bureaus, and she disputed with this particular debt collector. She disputed 3 times. Each time they came back and said, this is accurate, this is accurate, this is accurate. She reaches out to me. We end up suing. Now, when we sue, we start seeing on the bills, some of these bills are in her sister's name. So what we come to find out that these were medical debts that her sister incurred, not her. Now, mind you, she's already disputed 3 times. So we're able to say to the court, listen, my client gave 3 opportunities for this particular company to correct this particular piece of information. They still didn't do it. Now we have an argument. Well, the case concluded, she got over $50,000 in her pocket.
Oh, wow.
You know, on a debt that was less than $2,000. But you have these steps that are available to us. We need to be properly informed and actually utilize them. And this is how you take advantage of the system and stop letting the system take advantage of you. The third thing sorry, Juan, but the third thing to get to under this first prong is, it's very similar to if you're arrested for something. Do not admit that the debt is yours or accurate. Just shut up. I don't care what they tell you. If you ain't telling them that they're wrong, be quiet. But a lot of people are on recorded call saying, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh man, yeah, I forgot to pay that. And you don't need to. Just never admit that a debt is yours.
That's what I was going to get to, Jeff. I was going to ask you. So, I mean, obviously we're talking about helping people in situations that the debt might not be theirs and how you can help them get through that. But, you know, in the Black community, we do have people that have had debt situations pop up where they did do it. So in the information and the services that you can give, you can help people that actually did, well, allegedly may have done it or not done it. You know what I'm saying? That, like, because in our community, like, let's just be honest, we are learning how to get more financially responsible and things like that. Not everybody is there. I don't know about other communities. I can only speak for mine. But for those people that may be in a situation that is alleged, can they be fixed too?
Absolutely. You know, they did a study, I believe it was a CFPB a couple of years back. They found that over 80% of people had some type of error on their credit report. So to your question, even in instances where you did business with ABC Company and you owe ABC Company a particular amount, we have to ask the question, is the amount that they're stating that you owe, is that correct? Is all the information that they're reporting on you correct? You know, and these little things, like, you have an obligation to pay your debts, but they have an obligation to collect from you in a legally responsible manner. And part of that is reporting accurate information, right? So even in those particular instances where you did do business with these particular companies, let's make sure everything's on the up and up. Now, let's say you did business and they are reporting accurately. Well, then you also have something in your back pocket, which is they need something from you, which is that money. So you also have options whether you can negotiate this debt to pay pennies on the dollar, a dime on the dollar, a quarter on the dollar, so on and so forth, right? An instance where you did gain all of this debt, there's no easy button. A lot of credit repair companies are going to tell you it's just an easy button. We send in a letter, it all goes away. That's not the way it works. But you still do have options available to you. The key is to see the problem and face the problem head up, not just keep kicking the can down the road.
Okay. All right. I think that's a great question to have and great explanation. I think that sometimes we just don't know what to do in those situations. And I think that's why having these top 4 mistakes that people make in debt collection is a much needed conversation. And I think a lot of times people go to YouTube and find a random person to give them some advice, or somebody on a blog, not necessarily knowing this person probably doesn't have a legal background, or they're kind of just telling you what they did. And every now and then something that you may do, you know, that's not backed by any type of data or anything may work, but rarely do those situations always work. What are the other mistakes that we're making?
Yeah, let's get to some other ones. First, let me go back to that one too. I'd also like to say the poor segment of the American population are the ones who are getting debts collected against them in the highest propensity. Yet they're the least likely to file bankruptcy, right? Wealthier people file bankruptcy. Don't you think there's something wrong with that picture? In the event we're talking a scenario where you owe $30, $40, $50,000 to all these credit cards and whatever the case may be, you don't have a car, house, you don't have nothing to your name, call a bankruptcy attorney. You don't need to work your whole life to pay off a debt, which you could get discharged in bankruptcy. Just something to think about. On to number 2.
Something for you, Jeff.
It's, Jeff, when you say that, one of the things that I think about too, though, is that, I mean, that starts, and maybe that's a whole different topic. It appears that a situation like that is sometimes like embedded in the culture, maybe even systemic, right? I mean, it may be an economic issue, because I know when you said that, the first thing I'm thinking about is tell somebody and call somebody and tell them that I'm filing for bankruptcy. Hell no, I don't want people out here thinking I'm broke. And that's the assumption in our community, right? Like if I'm filing for bankruptcy, people are going to be out here thinking that I'm broke, opposed to, we don't really compare and contrast when you hear about Donald Trump and other people being like, I wish someone would come and take this company. I'll file for bankruptcy tomorrow. I don't give a shit, and start a whole new one. So it's something that, I'm glad you're touching on a little bit, because I know, especially for me, and based on how my, economic situation, all of the things are set up. If I was in a situation like that, I'm not filing for bankruptcy because I don't want nobody out here thinking I'm broke. And I know that I'm not the only person in that situation,
Well, that's just misinformation, Tab. That's all that is.
No, I understand it's misinformation, but it's misinformation that happens a lot in our community, right? We have people that'll drive around in $100,000 cars, Gucci, Louis out, but they live in a shack or ain't got a pot to piss in our window to throw it out. And I'm just saying that when he's talking about those things, I'm glad that we're bringing it up, because it's something that I think applies a lot to our community. People rather look the part a lot of time than doing the work that it takes to actually be the part.
Yeah. I've had friends who were trying to pay off $30,000, $40,000 of unsecured debt, living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, when you could file bankruptcy for $1,500. By 7 years, your credit's fixed. Trust me, if when I finish school, if I could file bankruptcy for student loans, I'll take that 7-year hit. You can think about me what you want. I'm gonna be balling on that 8th year. It's just retraining your mind. They teach the lower class to, hey, you always have to pay your debts. You always have to make sure you're paying us for whatever you incur. But whenever they're doing business, as soon as it gets hard for them, let me go to this court and
file bankruptcy, right? You see it on a national level for years. Company A gets sued, class action lawsuit, sued for $2 billion. Company A says, we filed bankruptcy. We ain't got nothing for you, and never pays the people. Company A now reclaims their brand and starts to name over as Company Z. Same company, same CEO, same people. What they did was basically say, we ain't got no money for the people that we owe. And, it's unfortunate, the stigma that we have, because sometimes in our community, stigma is what keeps us from being able to take the next step, or taking the processes that, like you guys said, rich America, the top 1 or 3% are taking advantage of all the time. I remember sitting in the barbershop with my barber back in Oklahoma. I ain't gonna throw his name out there, but he was basically saying, man, he was like, yeah, this is my 4th bankruptcy. Like, shoot. You got a brand new car, he got a brand new house. But it made me look at it differently, like, hold on. So you filing bankruptcy, you own a business, you own multiple businesses. But you get in a situation where your debt get a little too high, you just file bankruptcy and go from there. And I think I'm not necessarily saying that should be something that we should kind of aspire to do, but it definitely is an option that people should know about, instead of, living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paying debts. Sometimes it's not theirs. You got an ex-boyfriend that you done bought a $60,000 car for. He went and wrecked it. The car was uninsured, and now you got $60,000 debt, and he left you and went on. Hey, maybe that's a situation where you can file bankruptcy or something like that. So, people should keep that in mind.
Yeah. Number 2, not responding to lawsuits regarding consumer debts. And this is something that's extremely common. I'll have clients or prospective clients who have legitimate challenges to a particular debt, And I'll do a little digging and I'll find out that they've been sued regarding this debt. They were served with this lawsuit and just never showed up. The CFPB did another study. 74% of respondents don't show up to their court hearings regarding these debts. 74%. In that particular instance, what happens is the attorney for the debt collector gets what's called a default judgment. Default judgment is essentially the judge is going to grant them whatever they ask for because you're not there to challenge it. Whatever they ask for. I had somebody call me a while back whom had some fraud associated with her when she wanted to go and purchase a car. They ended up putting almost $100,000, bought 2 cars, put 2 cars on her name. She didn't make that great amount of money. I don't know how they got that through, but they ended up sending the debt to collections. She didn't show up to court. Now she got an $80,000 judgment to her name. And I truly believe to no fault on the original debt, but missed that court date. You have to show up to your court dates. You know, they run through these things 3 minutes a case doing these defaults, sometimes hundreds of cases a day.
Damn.
If you don't show up to that court date, you get the default judgment. At times, if they can prove that you were served with this lawsuit, they're extremely difficult to get out of, and it's going to cost you more money because you're definitely going to have to hire a lawyer to get you out of it. So, very important. Show up to your court date.
Bro, this is all mind blowing to me. I ain't know nothing about it. I guess my credit just wasn't that bad. At the time when I had bad credit, I had no idea all this stuff was going on, man.
Oh yeah. So you can have a company. It could be a large company. It could be somebody like AT&T or Comcast, and they'll just say, "Here are hundreds of people we have who didn't pay their cable bill," and they'll send that to a third-party debt collector. That debt collector may reach out by phone call or letter a couple times, you know, and these 1,000 people they initially sent gets dwindled down to 750 who didn't respond, because we already talked about how people aren't responding. Then we send that to court. 74% aren't going to show up to court. Now we got 740 judgments, just like that, right? Put it on your credit. We can garnish your wages. We got a whole bunch of more options now that we got the judgment.
Take your driver's license.
You know, and depending on the state, the consequences can be extremely harsh. So, you know, these are things I like to call adult decisions. Getting served with a lawsuit saying to appear in 30 days or whatever the case. It takes an adult decision to say, I'm actually going to take off work and go here. Maybe I got to make it up. Maybe I got to work overtime. I got to tell my boss. Whatever case may be, you need to be present at these type of events, because it is extremely costly if you don't.
Okay. All right. That's the free game, y'all. Free game. You know, obviously on Braspective, we talk about various topics, and I think this is an important one. You know, I think we all kind of learning something new right here. And, you know, I'm sure our viewers are writing things down. So, you know, keep giving it to us. Let us know what other mistakes we're making out here.
All right. So number 3 is something that people have been getting better at over recent history, but it's check your credit report regularly. Mm-hmm. You know, the most effective tool that debt collectors have to get you to pay a particular debt is, of course, reporting to your credit report. Mm-hmm. If you're not checking your credit report, you have no idea what's going on. Now, there are several ways that you can check your credit report. There's websites such as annualcreditreport.com. I'll repeat again, annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free credit report from each credit bureau once a year. You have companies such as Credit Karma, each credit bureau, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, all have individual services in which you can pay a fee and obtain your credit reports from them. So be aware of what's going on. I'll give you another example.
Jeff, before you go on, which one for the people is your favorite out of that one? You know, a lot of these, because Credit Karma and all of these different ones do fluctuate. Which one do you find would be the most accurate for people to put their time, energy, or money into?
So annual credit report is great, right? You get your credit report for free. You get each bureau, and they give you the extended credit report. So that's a great service, but it is only once a year. So having a website like Credit Karma is also good, you know, because you can consistently check that. Even having a subscribing to each credit bureau, you know, just the key is really just to be aware. You can work out the rest based on how much you want to pay and what particular features you want. But the most important part is to simply be aware. I had a client out of Houston whom got served with a debt collection letter saying, you owe us, let's see, I'm gonna use fake numbers. You owe us $3,000. But if you pay $1,000, we'll forgive everything and delete it off your credit report. So she goes, cool. She sends them $1,000. And what they ended up doing was, instead of taking that $1,000 and forgiving the debt, they simply deducted that from the principal. So now they started reporting, you owe us $2,000. Now, think about it. If she hadn't been checking her credit report, now it's just to anybody she goes to try to buy a house, she goes to try to buy a car, whatever it is, you owe $2,000. But she did check her credit report and she checked it regularly. She printed it out. So she had extensive records. We were able to, she comes to my office. She tells me that she hands me all this documentation. Here's the before, here's the after. Here's the debt collection letter they sent me. Here's my response. Here's when I called them. She had meticulous records of everything. Well, we filed suit. What happened? She got almost $100,000 from that case.
What?
Yeah. Almost $100,000 from that.
Man, I got hella people.
I need to file something, man.
As soon as we get out of this, I got everybody that said I owe them. I don't owe nobody nothing. I ain't never had nothing. I got about 20 people I need you to sue. One of these people out here gonna pay me some shit.
One of them gonna stick, huh?
One of them to stick. Matter of fact, we need to delete this episode because I don't need them pulling up no evidence against me. I just need one of them to stick.
I like that.
But it's real because, you know, just like you're obligated to pay, you know, a legally acquired debt, they have all these steps that they have to file to be able to collect this debt from you. They can't they can't lie to you. They can't swindle you. There's several things that they can't do. And as long as you do your part, you have a fighting chance to, number one, ensure that your credit report is accurate. And number two, to hold them accountable for what they're supposed to do. If all of us held them accountable, you wouldn't have all this inaccuracies on people's credit reports. They wouldn't be doing all the shady things that they do. And trust me, some of these debt collectors do some shady things. There was a debt collector. Can't remember which state it was out of, but I believe it was Texas. What they were doing is they were a debt collection company. At their office, they built a makeshift courtroom. Literally, jury room, judge seat. And they were having people who they said owed money come to their office pretending to be a court.
Wow.
In order to get people to pay particular debts. Fake trials and everything. So understand that, you know, I'll say this, Omar from The Wire said it, the game is out there and it's either play or get played. You have to know what your rights are so you ain't out here getting taken advantage of. And trust me, they will take advantage of you.
Oh, they will. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was probably, it was at least 10 years ago. But I had a debt. I believe it was I want to say it was with Macy's, right? Throw them out there, right? And it was a debt that I incurred coming right out of high school. And so, they called me like, hey, this is, I think, no, we were already in our home. We had already purchased our home. So I think this is, I don't know when it was, but however, they hit me like, hey, you owe this money. And I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, yes, you do. And I'm like, well, I had already paid that debt. So I had already paid the debt, and they were coming to me looking again. I had paid it to debt collector A years before, 2 or 3 years prior. And now debt collector B is calling me and saying, hey, I owe this debt again. But I'm like, no, I already paid it. But obviously, me not having any proof or anything like that, they end up getting the money from me again just because I didn't want it on my credit. And it was low. It was like $300 and something, but I had already paid it. And so I was one who got played in that situation. I basically paid the same debt twice to two different debt companies because I didn't really have any proof that I paid it.
Yeah, I've done that as well.
Yeah. So this is outside of the top 4, but key points. 1, have a record keeping system in your house. I don't care whether it's a shoebox or something, but keep records. Now the email makes it a lot easier, but it's really important. You never know what you're going to need when you're going to need it. Also, and let me do a little detour. We'll get back to the list, but there's some topics we need to cover. Since this is the Braspective, we need to talk about how Black people factored into this. People ask me, they come into my office, they ask me, hey, is this only happening to me? Do racial disparities exist in the debt collection field? Absolutely they do. They absolutely do. The Urban Institute did a study, and they found that debt collection practices are much more prevalent in Black and Latino communities than they are in white and Asian communities. Now, think about it. Who's coming to save you, right? If you graduate, some people on here are entrepreneurs, right? Some of y'all got your own businesses. You graduate from college, you graduate from grad school, if you work hard and whatnot, whose responsibility is it to give you a job? Who's coming to save you if you can't get a job? Ain't nobody coming to save you. You got to save yourself. The data is there. They're trying to pillage, plunder, all the words that they used to use in cartoons. They're doing this to Black people. They're doing this to Hispanics. Low information communities in these particular areas. It's difficult. It may be different. You may be a teacher. You may be a janitor. You may sell cars for a living. But you need to educate yourself on some of these financial issues. You need to know not only for you, but for your friends, for your family. Go ahead, Dewan.
That's why black lawyers matter, right? With your shirt, and that's why we got people like you on there because that we do have this allergy, this adversive reaction or avoidance to any type of legal issues, right? So if you threaten us with that you're going to take us to jail or that you're going to take our driver's license or we're going to get our garnished or wages, then Black people, and a lot of times we don't have friends who are lawyers that we can call up. We don't have LBs that we can call up who are lawyers. We don't have our lawyers and our CPAs from our businesses that can give us some accurate information on how we should move in these situations. And so I can see how it can kind of go out and we be, targeted in our community. And it's definitely sad. But when it comes to racial disparities within the collections, and as well as in general, what are some of the common consumer debts that you're seeing kind of us take on, as well as those that are kind of we're being targeted for?
Go on. My bad. I did want to touch on that too before we jumped over to that. What he said is super important to the people who may end up trying to get into law enforcement at some point in time. I always push for diversity in the field, whether Black, Latino, whatever, Black, white, or candy stripe. But that is one of the things that you are judged on in the background process is your credit. They want to pull your credit. They're going to look through it. Sometimes it's a big deal. Sometimes it's not. I've had many a jobs be able to turn me down for the fact that I didn't have good credit at one point in time. Now, whether that was the real reason or not, that's all, something we'll never really know. But what I will say is you're a minority trying to break into this field. Even though we're wanted, there's still, or there's a bigger, I ain't gonna say wanted, but I'll say there's a bigger desire for minorities in my field. One of the things that can be used against you is your credit, because it's now played into the fact, well, if he has bad credit and we go and serve a warrant on this house and there's $100,000 cash sitting on the table, is he more likely to take it because he has bad money management issues and things like that? So having good credit, and like Jeff said, is very important, because in our community, we plea out. That's what I call it, whether it's in court or in this debt collection stuff we're talking about, and we plea out before we get the best deal possible. It's okay with pleading out, but make sure it's the best deal for you. The first deal is not the best deal. We all know that. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I've seen it play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think all companies are doing that now. I think that's just a part of the background process now in general, is people checking your credit, unless you're about to be an entrepreneur. But for the most part, I think a lot of people are running your background, at least a light, whatever, what they call, like a light check or whatever they call that, like a
light poll.
Yeah. So I think most companies are doing that now.
Yeah. And that's the great point, because there are a lot of people, especially when you start getting into certain jobs and certain industries, man, they are definitely running credit reports. And, it's important for you to take the time. And sometimes it don't take long to get your credit cleaned up and get it back to a position to where you can look trustworthy again. It's just a process. And some people don't like to go through that tedious process of, doing everything they need to do. And that's why they have lawyers like Jeff, who, you can reach out and contact to. I mean, he's done stuff for me in the past. He's doing stuff for me currently, and that you can reach out to that can take care of those things for you.
Yeah. And kind of piggybacking what you guys just said, it is important to kind of know, well, what's the landscape? And what the landscape is the CFPB. And you hear me shout out these agencies. CFPB is a agency. It's a government agency. Elizabeth Warren was very influential in starting Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And so they handle all of these issues. It's a great resource for you to go and read on to learn about some of these things. But they did a study in 2016 to kind of find out, well, where are all these debts coming from? And what they ended up learning is the number one source for consumer debts stems from the healthcare industry, where you go and emergency room, doctor's office, whatever case may be, and the bills that come from you utilizing those services. That's the overwhelming majority of where these bills come from. I have tons of clients who have this particular set of debts. The second is what they're working on now. You hear it in the news: student loans. Now, for student loans, that's the most toxic debt you can have to your name. Point blank, period. Toxic. It is a wealth tax.
I've been running from Sally and May, for years.
Help me. I gotta get.
That is, give me any type of debt other than the student loan. The one type of debt you can't discharge in bankruptcy. And then the third.
And again, Jeff, you can't try to get that off the credit through bankruptcy, huh?
No, so you can. They just make it to where it takes heaven and earth to be able to get it done. And I mean, if we're being honest, being our complexion and having them decide, should we get rid of this debt for this particular person? It is very difficult. I mean, very difficult. 3-pronged test. They factor in your ability to make money throughout your lifetime. They factor in whether you're disabled or something like that. It is extremely difficult. Worst debt you can have to your name.
But hold on though, Jeff, and not to necessarily throw all your previous cases and successes out there. Yeah. You have had situations where you didn't clear the debt of somebody's student loans, but you did remove the debt from their credit report for a period of time, correct?
Correct. So that it's kind of just, when you're a lawyer, you can do certain things. So,
So you hit that joint for somebody? Okay.
yeah, so I had a client. It was actually one of the first cases I ever did in this particular area where I sued the credit bureaus for something wholly unrelated. It was really kind of like just a highly technical thing. And when we're in the settlement negotiations, I just, you go big. So, like, hey, what about this $80,000 worth of student loans? What are we gonna do about that? I think we should do something about that. And they had a choice to make, and that choice ended up being in my favor eventually. So, yeah, man. As I get older, I get more fucking in my system. You just like, just try it, go for it.
All they can say is no, right? If you ain't afraid to no, man, you imagine how many doors you'll knock on if you're not afraid of the word no.
Man, I got a philosophy when it comes to me suing. I tell opposing counsel all the time, look, your client can either pay me to go away, or they're gonna be paying you. But either way, they're gonna be paying, because if they ain't paying me, I'm coming at your throat until I lose. So you're gonna have to pay to make me lose. You might not even win though, right? Like, so keep in mind, they paying law firms $700-800 an hour to go up against me, and I push these people. Like, we talk about filing motions, we talk about depositions, talk about all the nitty gritty of a law school. I'm gonna make you work. I'm gonna make you work really hard, And yeah, man, do they want to spend $40K just to make me go away? Might be just to make me go away right now. I'm just saying.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you too about for our people out there listening. Just what about the people that just got credit cards, run them up to the sky? Mm-hmm. They ain't doing nothing wrong. They ain't in collections. They ain't in no debt. Credit cards just sitting at $5,000 limits, and they got $4,099 available. You know what I'm saying? $4,999 available. Like, what about those people? Can they benefit from any services you may have, or benefit from anything, any game you can give them?
Tab asking about his own account.
Shit, I ain't asking about my accounts. We can pull them credits. I'm doing all right. I used to didn't be though, but that's why I'm asking questions for younger me, because younger me was all there. I know he was all there, but some people out here is older me and still younger me, so we got to talk.
So to answer your question, if you just got high balances, I mean, a dope decision. You rack them up, pay them down. Longer you ain't paying them down, the more interest is accruing. That isn't really a circumstance where a lawyer needs to get involved. That's just a circumstance where your bank account got to get involved, and you just got to pay that down. The realm what we're talking about is really the point where it reaches collections. So that's where you had your credit card, you didn't pay it, and Chase writes you off and then sends it to the debt collector. There is another aspect to the credit reporting world, which is not dealing with debt collectors. This is just fair credit reporting. Much more intricate, much more nuanced. We'd have to have a whole nother episode for that particular case. But it's when you consider these four kind of mistakes, it's really the beginnings of simply becoming more financially responsible, more financially aware. And these are lessons that if you just take the time to learn them, you can pass them on, man. You can prevent the situations that all three of y'all went through. If somebody would have just told Jeff, make sure DeJuan does not get that phone, whatever you do, just disconnect it today, not tomorrow. Be better situations, right? And that kind of leads me into the last point. Now, to review, we talked about number one, not responding to communications from debt collectors. Number two, not responding to lawsuits regarding consumer debts. Number 3, checking your credit report regularly. And lastly, when you're presented with a serious error on your credit report, contact an attorney. There are certain things that you are not going to be able to do absent you having a brilliant mind or something, or you wanting to invest, a lot of time into just understanding this landscape. But when you have serious errors, and what do I mean by serious errors? I mean serious errors such as your brother's mortgage reporting to your credit report, meaning you have fraud that is associated with your credit report. You've already disputed it, and they're saying, no, this is your account. Like things where, to no fault of your own, these errors are reporting on your credit report. There is very little that even the best credit repair person can do in that particular situation to help you out in that circumstance. There just comes a point in time where you got to lawyer up. And for these particular cases, they're not like breach of contract cases where you're paying a high retainer up front. Majority of these cases, attorneys take contingency fee agreements, which means they're just going to take money off the back end. You're not going to have to go in there and put up 5-10 grand up front. So if you really do have one of these particular types of issues, reach out to an attorney before it just increases the level of stress in your life, and the interest and all this thing just blows out of scale.
That's important. Make sure. Well, Jeff, if they want to reach out to you, how can they find you? What's the information, the platforms and things of that nature that they can find you?
So simply just come to my website. It's jwcreditlawyers.com. You can reach me on there, and you can send me a message. My phone number's on there. You can give me a call. We can kind of go over a lot of these particular issues. And for a lot of people, again, this can really be life-changing. Not only when you get some of these debts removed, you're having the debt come off your credit report, but a lot of times we're able to, again, put money into your pocket. So it's really like a double win on a lot of these people's lives, and it's all about being aware and taking advantage of the opportunities that you're presented with.
How far can you go back for people, like people watching and different issues they may have? What's the, I guess in layman's terms, the statute of limitations on some of these debts people may have and how you can help them?
Well, that's a good question. And so that's a little too nuanced to kind of really tell you. I can tell you for collections issues, it's governed by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Mm-hmm. And there's a 1-year statute of limitations on that. So 1 year from the date of whenever something goes wrong, whenever there's a violation occurred. But there's Fair Credit Reporting Act. That's that other side I talked about. And that one has a much longer statute of limitations. And so if we can't get you right here, we may be able to sneak you in over on the Fair Credit Reporting Act. But that's something for, you kind of to discuss with your lawyer.
All right. Cool. For the audience that's listening, you brought up a good point. The ability to go out and file bankruptcies. Now, is that something your firm offers, or is that something that can only be done within the state that they live in? How does that look? Because I know, different lawyers have different jurisdictions and different things, but that may or may not matter as much when it comes to something like this. So how does that look for people?
So I don't do bankruptcy law, but if you're in that particular situation where the debts are way higher than you believe you could pay off in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the case may be, you can reach out to a bankruptcy attorney. Just Google it for your city, for your state, and they're more than happy to talk to you. And and a lot of times, man, that really is the best choice in the circumstance where you've just racked up a ton of debt and you have really no way out. It does not make sense. I repeat, it does not make sense for you to have $50,000 worth of debt, a lot of it accruing 20% interest. You have no car, you have no house, you don't even have assets that the court can take away from you. And you're just going to work the rest of your life to pay off a debt, never accruing any wealth for yourself. Bankruptcy is a good option in those cases.
Okay. We have a good question from an audience member, and she asks, what steps would you recommend for someone who has an eviction on their credit and it's the wrong amount? Also, if you disputed off your credit, will it drop off? And is there proof that's needed on the collection side for that?
So, good question. So, if
I can imagine we're going to have a lot of evictions coming up here with Corona and everything. So this may be something everybody needs to pay attention to.
It's getting ready to go down.
You're going to have a ton of collections, a ton of evictions. You're going to have a ton of
foreclosures.
A lot of credit reporting is going to occur over the next couple of years. And so now is a great time for you to be listening. To answer that lady's question, the first thing you need to do is dispute the debt. And by dispute, I mean simply sending a letter to whatever company is reporting that debt, and sending a letter to Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. And in that letter, you tell them plainly that the debt is inaccurate, and you state the reasons why it is inaccurate. If you have any documentation that evidences that you don't owe what they say you owe, you attach it to that letter and you send it off. In the event after they receive that, you'll receive in the mail something called a reinvestigation result from each credit bureau. If on that reinvestigation result, that trade line is not fixed, then you need to call an attorney.
Okay. That is some great information, some great game. Before we wrap it up, I know everybody got to get to their Super Bowl Sunday and all that. Two things I'm going to ask brothers to give your parting statements, and then who you guys got to win the Super Bowl? This is Braspective, right? We keep it on topic, off topic. We go from there. But who y'all got winning the Super Bowl? We ain't asking you, Jeff. We know who you got. We'll let you go last.
I think I guess words would be, man, credit is really important. A lot of people always say, man, I'm just going to pay cash, this, that, and the other. Man, use that damn credit. Everybody else, the wealthiest people are using freaking credit, bro. And what happens when you use your credit and your credit is good, you get the lowest interest rates. So when you buy your car, you get the 2.0 interest rate or APR, whatever that shit is. Or when you buy your house, instead of you getting the 4.25 like I got some years ago, I would get the 2.2 that they offer right now. So I need to go refinance. But all those things are important when you make an adult decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like Taff talked about, even trying to get a job. You might get denied for a job because your credit is trash. You got all the qualifications, but they look at your credit report, you out here with a 499, ain't getting that job. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to man up or woman up, take care of that credit. And it is important. Of course, you can pay cash for certain things, but a lot of the time, why would you? Or why should you? And lastly, man, I can't go against Mahomes, bro. I love Tom Brady. He the GOAT. Mahomes is wrong. I got Kansas City.
Man, I'm gonna just go ahead and say, keep supporting us, keep watching. Those are my parting words. We got more stuff coming in the future. Clubhouse, all types of stuff. We ain't going nowhere. We gonna keep coming. Y'all keep suggesting topics. Y'all pretty much give us the fuel, and the world gives us the fuel to keep doing what we're doing out here. And then just touching on what Jeff said, imagine having an opportunity to make $100,000 a year job and somebody hating on you because you fresh out of college, starving college student, had to make some rough decisions prior to watching this show, and they tripping on you because you got collections and things like that and telling you, financially you're not ready for this job. What the hell do you think I have to do in college? I have to make critical decisions. That's what most starving college students have to do. So take advantage of these things and get ahead. definitely having credit and things like that is the way of life, man. I love the fact that if I don't feel like paying all this money or paying money out of my account I worked hard on my overtime with, I can kick the can down the road because I got good credit, you know? So that's important. And then finally, when it comes to this Super Bowl stuff, I already got my money tied up in this. So I'm going to go with Tom. And I'm going to go with Tom because I like what Bruce is doing over there. Bruce got women on his staff, his coaching staff. He's got black people on his coaching staff. And for me, it's diversities and minorities out there. And we watched a lot of little foolery get played in the offseason hiring of minority coaches this year. So I want to see more people break into the game. Tom, bring this home, man, because I need some money so that I ain't got to go into debt. You know what I'm saying? Tom, go get my money, man. And that's what I'm about, man. Go Bucks today.
Who you got, Jeff? Go ahead. You're from Kansas City, so it's quite obvious, but go ahead.
Yeah. Born and raised Kansas City, Missouri. A lifelong Chiefs fan. Most recent champion. And, of course, you know, we're going for the two-time champion, man. Betting against Mahomes is a losing effort. The only time that boy Mahomes lost is because of something his own teammate did. That's why D4 is with the Niners. And we beat them the next year. Chiefs all day.
Jeff, you a lawyer, man. You ain't no future teller. Don't be messing up my money like that.
Yeah, you made an adult decision. Unfortunately, it was just the incorrect.
He made the wrong decision to go against Mahomes, huh?
Yeah, man.
Nobody here knows what's going to happen, not unless y'all living in the future. So, you know, we can all make a prospective bet right here. I don't mind collecting the collections. Have y'all damn debt collectors, huh?
I don't know if it's legal to gamble across state lines, which we would be doing if I make a bet with you or not. So we gonna
charitable giving thing. You're donated to your favorite charity, which is me. I'm a charity case.
You know, we not gonna do illegal activities on the Braspective.
You didn't hear him say. You didn't hear him say, "Donate to your favorite charity." I'm a charity case.
Donate to your favorite charity. Broke ass dads, man. Go ahead and
broke ass dads. I like that one. That's a dope one.
Man,
I think for me, I would say obviously take your credit serious. You know, I've had some ups and downs. My credit's good now, but I've had some ups and downs over the years with credit. Had moments when my credit was low. Had moments when my credit was great. Been able to buy homes, cars. Had moments when my credit was iffy. Couldn't get a credit card. Then had moments again where credit card was great. So, I mean, credit was great. You know, being able to have people that look into your credit and things of that nature. And one of the reasons it's important to be able to have a constant monitoring service is because a lot of times, like I said, where more my credit was messed up is because of fraud. So, you know, somebody, your information out there on the black web, somebody didn't try to get a Harley, phones, furniture, all that in my name. So, you know, I don't know what's going on, but it's good to have some type of credit monitoring service and things of that nature. Be mindful of kind of who you're following and what you're listening to on the internet in regards to fixing your credit. I know my brother Jeff Wilson has some great things coming forward where he'll be able to get information for people and things of that nature. Check him out on his website. You know, continue to like, subscribe, watch more videos. It's Black History Month. So, you know, stick with us for our next episode for the culture. We're going to talk about some things that are important in our history and our current culture within the African-American community. But and when it comes to my guy, Patrick Mahomes, I can't bet against that guy, man. I would be very naive and ignorant to do so. He's good. I understand that the Chiefs have they're not the best team on paper. You know, Brady got weapons. He got Antonio Brown. He got the big wide receiver from Texas A&M. He got the two fast dudes. He got two running backs. They got a D line. They got linebackers. You know, they got Gronk. They got all type of weapons over there. But you know, hey man, your boy Brady choke every now and then. So
it last week, man. I don't want to hear this.
You know what I'm saying? He may choke. He's the greatest all time because of all the rings, but he won't go down as the greatest quarterback all time. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say that. But I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate the love and support, Jeff. Thank you for jumping on us with us. Go ahead and give your parting ways or parting views for the audience. Let them know again where they can find you and the things you can help them with.
Yeah, again, name of the day, Black History Month. Don't be a part of the bad part of Black history. Protect your history. Protect your history. That means learn what you need to learn, be diligent, be smart, make the correct adult decisions. And again, you can reach me at jwcreditlawyers.com. Text the show, like, subscribe. Isn't that what they say? Like and subscribe. That
Like
subscribe button is what?
Hit the like button. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. And we'll continue with the content. Again, thanks for having us. Tune in with us, guys. 2 Sundays from now, we'll be talking about things for the culture within the African American community. And we love you. Appreciate you.
See y'all. Peace.